I'm Dave Hemsley, I'm the Assistant Head Teacher at the University of Liverpool Maths School. Now we have been looking forward to taking trips out for quite some time, and it's part of our curriculum is to really go beyond the A-level specification and give students a really good idea of the whole range of things they could do with their qualifications. Now one thing we have been wanting to do is go to the Ironbridge Museums, especially Blists Hill, to look at engineering, innovation and everything that revolved around improving the situation for certain industries. So we got the opportunity to go to Ironbridge, and here's a little video showing you a little bit about what we did whilst we were there. The Museum of Iron at Coalbrookdale, and we had a lovely talk from the senior curator there, Georgina, and she went through basically the idea that here at Coalbrookdale was literally the start of the Industrial Revolution, with the first blast furnace that is actually on site at Coalbrookdale. There's some lovely models to actually show some of the things around the Ironbridge Gorge. You can see the Iron Bridge itself, obviously, which is a wonderful structure itself. There's lovely models of steam engines, which of course you might be able to see in action when you visit another museum, which is Blists Hill Victorian Museum. So that's a wonderful sight to see the engine in action. There's all kinds of models as well depicting things there. This is something called the Hay Incline Plane, which is a great idea to get barges pulled up a slope to save using locks. There's all kinds of amazing things as well. There's like iron tables. You can see there's amazing letterboxes, all kinds of things that are obviously able to be produced as a result of the innovations shown at the time. So again, those letterboxes you might see down at Bliss Hill, and also the old blast furnaces there as well. And again, models of blast furnaces, you can actually find out a little bit about the science behind what's going on, as our students are keen to do. So it was a wonderful time spending time there and seeing this place, which was essentially characterised as being the Silicon Valley of the time. It was a hub for industry, innovation, and all kinds of engineering developments. So it was something that students really enjoyed finding out a little bit more about. Obviously, only about 100 years ago, but a lot of big industry being set up based around these principles set up at Ironbridge. And what's really nice is next door there's a really good chance to play essentially with some physics. So Ingenuity is a really good hands-on display where you can actually see some really good examples of some of the things that are really important to do with the history and the electricity generation around about the time. So there's some really interesting things in there. But the main focus of us coming down to Ironbridge was to find out if we could write some rather challenging questions for students to be able to do whilst they're there, whether that be Key Stage 2, 3, 4 or 5. So we can see there's a lot of curriculum content we could talk about. There's some Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, just simple generation of electricity using coils and magnets. But the whole place itself is really well set up for school visits. So everyone had a pretty good time in there and found out all kinds of things to do with even some amazing things like using dams on water to provide you with energy needs that you might need, or the water or irrigation that you might need. So a lot of principles that we use, and everyone obviously enjoyed staying dry at the time. So we did have quite a lot that we could see whilst we were there, and it's quite nice because there's lots of innovative use of technology as well. So we were able to see some things in application that were pretty interesting, and they had things like this. Now this is a good challenge to actually figure out how the higher areas of sand were coded by colour. I thought it was to do with mass pushing down on the balance, but no. The students very aptly pointed out it's actually a sensor measuring the distance above, and so if the hand was held high for some time, it would change to be green or red, depending on how close they were. So again, some nice little interesting thoughts as well to try and figure out why. We obviously went to the Iron Bridge, which is an amazing structure that had never been built anywhere in the world before and changed quite a lot actually. This is being cast, so huge pieces of iron are being cast and they are held together essentially using wood type techniques, so dovetailed together. You won't see too many rivets, which you might have seen on some of the more recent structures. So this thing itself was a remarkable piece of engineering and something that inspired a lot of engineers to go on and build bridges. But the main thing, as I say, was we wanted to go to Blists Hill Victorian Town and actually look into some challenging questions for other students whenever they attend Ironbridge to be able to answer. So we spent a nice little bit of time at the Victorian town, seeing some of the sights, seeing what was going on, looking at the history, looking at how different things may have been and also how similar things may have been. But each student was assigned a group, and each group was assigned a location. So within Blists Hill, there was a whole lot of engineering innovations that you're able to find out more about. So for example, some steam engines, but there's a lot of heavy industry. And the main thing is that students are going to create some challenging questions. So there's all kinds of things you could talk about. You could be talking about pressure, temperature, how much water you might be able to put into the steam engine and how that might equate to the pressure, how much pressure you might need to make it move, how much thermal energy you need to get from the coal to actually heat the water itself. There's a whole lot of very interesting mechanics going on with the gears if you look at the teeth and how they work, and obviously the actual system itself in terms of making the movement from the pistons as well. So there's some really nice stuff. Obviously people were very happy to be able to buy some fresh bread and some cookies whilst they were there, which was always very nice. And we were able to see a really good example of iron and how materials can be changed in terms of their properties. So cast iron is made from the blast furnace, and they actually get it to cool in pigs to make pig iron. In cast iron itself, you can actually snap quite easily. So that takes very little energy to actually snap something like that. But if you hammer it after heating it and make all the silica become very fibrous, it becomes very strong, like a tree almost. And you will find it very hard to snap this iron. This is called wrought iron, and it is a very strong thing. So it's amazing to see how you could work a piece of material to get the properties you want. So we're going to end up with some really amazing questions, and what's nice as well is you can actually find out a little bit more about the history in Ironbridge as well. So we did have the opportunity to visit a school and find out what education was like for young people, perhaps up to the age of around about 11, whilst they were living in an area like this. And again, not much opportunity for social mobility. But it was great. Everyone had a really good time. And we've got a task to do, and that is to produce some excellent resources and questions for other students to be able to do when they visit these amazing museums. We really can't wait to see what our students come up with in terms of questions, and it's really good that Ironbridge will then be able to use those with future visitors to really push other students' experiences of maths, science and engineering.